So I'd like to thank you all for showing up today. This is the last LEC session for the year, and with us today we have two co-presenters, Pauline Wegman, who I'll let introduce herself, and then Mariana Garcia, our very own Mariana Garcia. Just quick housekeeping things. The first half of this session is going to be less hands-on-y, and the second half is a hands-on. So no rush to get computers signed on right away if you're having problems with the thing you're using. And for the second half, that's where you'll need your devices. For those of you who are on laptops, although we sent out reminders, we were kind of at capacity. If you prefer to work on a big screen, please feel free to switch over at this point if you prefer that. Today's session, as always, will be recorded and accessible on YouTube. And Pauline will be sharing slides with us that will be available also in our Docs folder online. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Pauline.
Yes. Hi guys, thank you for having me today. I'm Pauline Wegman, not related to the Wegmans, as we kind of discussed a little bit. I'd like to get that out of the way, front and center. But I'll give you guys a little background about myself. I actually started my art and design career at Nazareth College. So I graduated in 2012 with a studio art degree, a minor in entrepreneurship. From there, I worked for about a year at a startup in Rochester, actually with Claudia, that has asked me to join you wonderful people today. I worked as a graphic designer for about a year there. After that, I transitioned to CGI Communications, and I worked as a graphic designer, a graphic and web designer, and then for my final 4 out of the 6 years I was there, I managed the digital media and creative design team, which had 16 people in it. And I worked there until this past September, where I actually got an offer for the Martin Group, which is an advertising agency out in Victor, with headquarters in Buffalo. So I work as a digital designer developer there, actually working with Wegmans, which comes full circle. So I do mostly like their emails and their website updates, and we work with a big team that works with Wegmans there, but they're our biggest client. So, and on the side, I also do some freelance. I have a business called Key&C Creative. I do freelance art and design as well. So that's just a little bit about me. So we'll dive right in. There are 5 things that I put together for you guys. So 5 of pretty much like the biggest fundamentals of design. There are others, but I didn't want to go too in depth because these will build like a good foundation for you guys to then build on after that. So those 5, visual hierarchy, balance, composition, we'll talk about the rule of thirds, typography, and then color theory as well. If you guys want to take notes, feel free. You'll also get this presentation, as Marini said, after the fact as well. So first, before we dive into visual hierarchy, I just want to establish some common ground. Because I feel like there's one thing that everyone has probably faced that's sitting in this room. How many of you have sat down to design or create something, and you've got your blank page in front of you, and you don't know where to begin? Well, a lot of nods, yeah. Probably everyone. This happens to me probably every day. And I'm a professional, so that's okay. So the biggest thing, whenever this happens to you, whenever you start something new, the biggest thing that you guys want to figure out is your message. Always keep your audience in mind. Figure out what you want to say. So that leads into visual hierarchy. Visual hierarchy is pretty much the organization and the prioritization of everything that you're putting into your design. So it's your message. And it's pretty much how you want to tell your message in the best way possible to convey what you want to say. So you can do this with a bunch of different elements of design. Size, typography, spacing, color. We'll go into a bunch of those in depth also on their own, but I'll tell you first how they relate to hierarchy. So the first one is the biggest, no pun intended. So size. So if you want someone to pay attention to something on your paper or on your design, one of the easiest and quickest ways that you can do that is to make one element the biggest out of all the other ones. So if you have something that you want to stand out, make it big. In this example, do your best is the first thing that your eye goes to, hands down. Along with that, typography and how you place your text and your content, your copy on your page. So you can organize your content into like a 3-tiered system. So level 1, 2, and 3. So level 1, as you can see, is your headings, level 2 is your subheadings, and level 3 is your body copy. So level 1 is the most important content. This is what you want your reader to see first. It's the headline. You open a newspaper, you open a magazine, you go on CNN.com, it's the story, it's the headline, it's the chapter in the book that you're reading. So that's the most important thing. Nothing else should compete with that. Level 2 is your subheading. So subheading is pretty much how your content, how your design gets sectioned off. So it guides readers through your design. It should be not as important as your level 1, but also still more important than your level 3, which is your body copy. So your body copy is your message. What do you want to say? What do you want to explain? And this is what, your readers might not read all of it, but it's the meat of your design. Along with that, along with visual hierarchy goes spacing. So imagine a design that has all the content all jumbled and the photos, everything crammed on your design. You don't know where to start. You don't know where to look first. So spacing has a very, very big importance in design. White space can guide the viewer's eye through your design and also gives your eye a break from anything else that you're looking at, photos or headlines. So in this example, you can see it creates that separation between the sections. So now your eye can see, I see my headline first, I see all these different sections, and then it can decipher, what do I want to read? So that's something to think about when you're designing, is what do you want your audience to see first and read first and pay attention to first? Along with spacing is that you can use it as a focal point. So this is a good example of spacing to use as a focal point where this chapter and the author are what you look at first, even though it's an empty space. And then color. Color is one of the biggest ways to attract attention, especially these bright colors. So think differently. That's what all of our eyes went to first, I'm sure, on this page. Well, maybe other than the big banner at the top. But that's still an example of color. So that's a really, really good way to make something stand out in your design. And we'll go into color theory later. That's the last but the most fun section. After visual hierarchy is balance. So balance gives your design stability. So there are ways to create symmetrical balance, an asymmetrical balance, a well-balanced piece, and a not so well-balanced piece. So I'll show you guys first symmetrical balance. So symmetrical balance is, imagine dividing any design, this was a pretty simple one to give you an idea, in half. Each part is equal to or very, very similar to each other. So anything that's balanced feels stable, secure, very orderly. So here's a couple logo examples that are balanced, completely balanced. And then I also have some fine art examples that are balanced. So this is a good example to show you symmetrical balance. Even though the sides are not exactly the same, it's still symmetrically balanced. Same with this one. And then asymmetrical balance. So the good thing about asymmetrical balance is that it can usually provide a more exciting design. So where symmetrical balance is good, asymmetrical can almost be a little better. So it's when, if you divide this design, again, in half, each half is different but has the same visual weight. So it's still balanced, just asymmetrically balanced. So here's a couple logos that, I mean, I'm sure are very iconic, but if you divide them, like right down the middle, it's interesting to see that this, large weighted section on this left here on the Nike logo is balanced with this longer skinny piece on the right. And then same with this Apple logo here, is that even though this part is cut out, this stem that leans to the right is making up for it. So it's still balanced, it still feels weighted equally. One of my favorites, Starry Night. If you divide it right down the middle here, you can see right here and right here, asymmetrical balance. And then one more, this is Degas. Right down the middle, you can see everything balances each other out. And it's usually a little more interesting than if you just put one dancer right in the middle. Your eye has a place to kind of follow around. So always think about that when you're designing. And this is pretty cool. An example of the Adidas logo that's both symmetrically balanced and asymmetrically balanced. I thought that was pretty cool to show one that's the same. After that, composition. So composition is the arrangement or the placement of your elements of your design. So this is a really good example of a great composition. So you can tell that someone really, really thought about how all these elements go together, how there's a lot of stuff happening, but your eye knows where to go. It's still traveling down the page. They really thought about putting these birds in front of this rectangle instead of placing everything, let's say, side by side. They overlapped them nice. So rule of thirds. So rule of thirds is a really great way for beginners or people that are just starting out in the design world to get a more exciting composition in an easy way. So the rule of thirds, imagine your blank piece of paper cut up into a 3x3 grid. So then what you want to do is you want to place your focal points or anything that you want people to read first on these intersecting points here, these little red dots, or, and, you could do it either way, on these lines. And I'll show you some examples of that. So right here, the horizon is right on this first line, and then this cliff, or mountain, landmass, whatever it is right here on this intersecting point. And if you can imagine, if you were just staring at this cliff right in the center, and you're comparing these two side by side, this one's a little more interesting. So the rule of thirds isn't something that you have to use or, default to, but if you're finding yourself struggling, it's a really good way to get started. Here's another example too. So it pretty much just provides you from placing your whatever you want people to focus on in the dead center, which is usually what we revert to doing. And then some logo examples too, so I have art and design. The FedEx, this arrow, I'm sure, well, maybe not everyone knows that there's an arrow in FedEx, but
Oh, I don't think I.
oh, okay, this just got way more exciting. The things I take for granted. So yes, there is an arrow in this white space. Another good example of playing with spacing, actually. And it is, if you imagine your grid, it's right down that line. Oh, I just blew your guys' Oh, now you're gonna go home and just go talking
Tell all my
about
friends.
all right. So this is a good example too of the rule of thirds here. So here's a line here, and then the other line is right where this lady in the white dress, possibly a bride, not sure, right there. The horizon line, right there. Facebook logo, we all know that. Not centered. Just provides, oops. Oh no. Yeah, provides a little interest. And then Starry Night, one more time. Because the rule of thirds too. You can see this horizon line's down here, this cliff's right here. Could have put the cliff in the middle, the sun in the middle. Would have been a whole different thing. Might not have been as famous. Might have been too. It's my favorite. Yeah. All right. Typography. Does anyone have questions so far? Oh, good. Okay. All right. Typography. So typography is the study of letter and word forms and how you can arrange them so that they look visually pleasing to the eye. So here's a couple good examples of some book covers where they really played with the typography, mixed up, what you'll learn as sans serif and serif, and some, looks like some hand lettering over here, or some script font. So one of the first things I'll tell you guys about typography is that in typography there are typefaces and there are fonts, which in the design world sometimes they are interchangeable and sometimes people get them very wrong. So typefaces are a font family, so a set of fonts. So I've used Avenir as our example font. So as you can see, Avenir comes in a ton of different styles of fonts, like Book Roman, Oblique, which is italic. So if you're referring to Avenir as this set, it's a typeface. Or if you're referring to just one of these, like Avenir Medium, that is a specific font. So fonts are within the typeface, which is the font family. And then serif versus sans serif. So there's a bunch of different kinds of fonts. These are the two most common that you'll see. So serif fonts, serifs are these little extensions of letters. So right here, right here, right here down at the bottom. And traditionally, they were to help lead the eye from one letter to the next and have it flow very, very easily. If you read any, usually any books, they'll have serifs as the body copy, because as your font gets smaller to read, you need that little extra serif to kind of help your eye. It's not always the case, but it's usually the case. So serifs are more traditional and sans serifs are more modern. So sans serifs, if you see these end caps, they have no serifs. Sans literally means without, so it means without serifs. So again, that's just a little more modern type of typography. There are also slab serifs, which slab serifs they wouldn't have any of these curved bits. It would just be straight serifs. There's like handwritten fonts. There's script fonts, which are also cursive. There's a bunch of different types. These are the two most common. Leading. So leading, when you're looking at a paragraph, is the spacing between the lines. So here's an example of tight, normal, and loose leading. So my biggest advice for leading is to just keep it so that the audience and your viewer can read it, and so it's easy to read. Normal leading, I mean, that's why it's called normal. It's pretty standard to have that. So as soon as you get kind of tight leading, it gets a little hard to read. But just so you guys can see an example of what leading is. All right, kerning. So there's two types of spacing. So we talked about the spacing between lines. Now we're going to talk about the spacing between letters. So kerning is the space between these individual letters. So you can fix the kerning of individual letters like this. And then before I click this, I'm just going to show you what the other type is, which is tracking. So tracking adjusts the spacing between all of the letters uniformly. Yeah, so if you want to make, all the letters more spaced out, it's tracking. If you want to just tweak one, it's called kerning. So I actually have I have a bunch of links in here that are fun. They're not quizzes, they're games. So you guys can play with those in your spare time. But Kern Me is a game where you can actually practice the kerning of letters. So I'll show you guys here. It'll give you the first letter and the last letter in place, and then you have to play with these letters in between and place them where you think looks visually appealing. Because as you'll see, like this E right here doesn't have a lot of space on the end, but this V has a lot of negative space. So that means that you can move it in a little closer to that E. So let's see how I did. Okay, 85, that's not bad. But you guys will do better, I promise. And you can just keep going through these and test them out, and test your abilities on kerning. So you can do that later. All right, font pairing. This is something that you guys will probably have to do a lot of. So I added some good links and good resources in here for you. When pairing fonts, there's a lot of things to consider. The first one is probably, it's not the first one on there, but it's the biggest. Context and audience. I feel like that's always the biggest. Who do you have in mind to view this design or to read this design? I feel like you guys know the font Comic Sans, I feel like everyone, or Papyrus, the fonts that are kind of cringy because they're overused. Well, I feel like every font has a place. And some fonts have just been overused in the wrong place, that they're now like a bad font. But you know, if you think of Comic Sans being used for like a daycare poster, or Papyrus being used for, I don't know, like a Greek restaurant or something, they work. But if they're used in like a professional signage, it's not good. So context and audience is very, very important when it comes to font and just designing in general. Your hierarchy, you always want to keep that in mind. You know, what font should be bigger, which one should be smaller, creating contrast. And if you're hung up on, you know, you're looking at fonts and you're like, I don't understand which ones go together, you can always use fonts from the same family. So when I showed you guys Avenir, the typeface before, you can always mix like Avenir Medium with Avenir Light. They'll always go together. So just a pro tip for you if you're struggling. And then things to avoid, try not to choose fonts that are too close to each other. So Avenir is the same font family, so it works. But if you were to use two fonts that look similar but are not the same, it looks very quickly like a mistake. So that's something to be wary of. Also using too many different fonts, I would stick to like 2 to 3 different fonts in one design. Using more than that, it gets real cluttered real quick. And then conflicting fonts. So typography is one of the things I struggled with when I started designing, and I was, you know, started taking courses at NAS. And it's funny, I actually, my parents just gave me like boxes of all my like high school and like college art, and I looked through it, and I swear I used like every font imaginable on every design. And I was like, I was terrible. I don't know how I got my first job, but here I am. So there's hope for all of us. So here's a couple resources in here for you guys to help you pair fonts. So this one is literally fontpair.co. So it gives you some fonts that work together. And it tells you exactly, you know, it shows you what they look like, and it tells you exactly what they are, and you can download them too. And I know that you guys are going to be designing in Canva. Oh, don't look at that yet. So Canva actually has a great resource where you can find different font combinations. So you can pick, let's say, this is the first font you want to use, and then it'll give you different suggestions and show you how they look together.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So I thought that would be perfect for you guys. Sorry if I'm ruining the second
No,
presentation.
I don't even know where that is.
Oh, okay, well good. Well, it's in this presentation for you guys. So you can bookmark it and look at it later. But that's really helpful, especially if, you know, there's tons of fonts out there. So if you're struggling, this should help.
What's a conflicting font?
A conflicting font. So actually, this is a good example. You can look at this one now. All right, so this is a good font pairing, and then a poor choice of font pairing. So these fonts, I would say, are conflicting. So, and also just poor choices in general. So as you can see, using like an all uppercase cursive font, usually not going to be readable. So always choose your designs based on, are they going to be readable, are they legible, can my audience even see them, first of all, and then do they look good together? So like this one on the left, there's contrast between them. So there's a heavier weight font, and it's all in uppercase, and then there's a there's that lighter weight font underneath it, and they balance them out. Even notice how that uppercase font, that first one, is a little smaller, but it's a heavier weight, whereas the bottom one is a lighter weight, but it's bigger. So it does provide a little balance. Over here, they're using 2 different kinds of script fonts or cursive fonts. They don't match. It's kind of like they didn't know what they were doing over here. Also, conflicting fonts goes back to using fonts that look alike but are not the same. So people are judging. They're like, is that a mistake? Did they mean to do that? Are they the same? They don't look the same. So you don't want people guessing like that. It should all flow very nicely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, last part is color. Fun part. So color theory is using a color wheel as a basis for selecting colors. So I actually have a bunch of links in this color here.
I love
So if did someone say they love this
this.
site?
I love it.
Yes, this is wonderful. So if you guys are struggling to come up with a color scheme for a design, you can go to this site and you can drag these and you can see your color scheme down here and up here. You can also choose, which I'm going to explain these more, but you can pick your color scheme over here, and then you can drag, you can slide them in, out. All right, so choose colors that appropriately impact your message. So with colors, there's primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. So as you can see from this very nice GIF here, it'll rotate around so you can see those. Primary, your standard red, yellow, blue. Your secondary are by mixing your primary colors. So if you mix red and yellow, you get orange. Yellow and blue, you get green, so on and so forth. And then tertiary are the ones in between. So in between red and orange, you get red, orange. In between the yellow and the orange, yellow, orange, so on and so forth. So different kinds of color schemes, which you saw you could choose these from that Adobe Color website. So complementary colors are colors that are opposite each other on the color wheel. So if you start with blue, your opposite color is going to be orange, yellow, sorry. If you start with orange, it's going to be green. If you start with purple, it's going to be yellow. Complementary colors are good for high contrast, eye-catching designs. A lot of sports teams will use them, you'll see. So here's a couple examples of logos that use complementary colors. Analogous color schemes are 3 or more in a row. So you can pick like a dominant color, so let's say blue is your dominant, and then you pick 2, 3 that are next to it. So that's usually a pretty surefire way to create, a design with a lot of harmony in it. There are analogous color scheme logos. Triadic, so they make a triangle on the color wheel. So triadic is interesting because they're not as intense as complementary, which are just directly across from each other, but they do provide a weird sense of harmony. So I'll show you these examples. And then this is my favorite, and it's actually a pretty safe choice if you want to use it, monochromatic color scheme. So you choose one color, and then you choose various shades and tints, so darker and lighter colors from that main color. And it usually is very common to look at. So here's a few, the old Animal Planet logo. And then color psychology, read into this as much as you want. I wouldn't base any designs, I wouldn't steer away from colors just because you're worried that someone would feel something that is deemed, by color psychology. But color psychology is pretty much saying that every color has a meaning. It makes people feel different things. So before I click that, I do have just like a slide here. I'm not going to read through everything, but just what the colors mean or what they make people feel in general. And then just things to avoid, best practices with color. So I wouldn't do any of the things on the right here. Bright colors on bright colors, you probably can't even see that. Light colors on light colors, dark colors on dark colors. Biggest thing is readability. Think of your audience. And then color games, not tests, they're games. These, if you guys have time and you want to play with these, they're a lot of fun. They can measure, your scale on like color blindness and I don't know, your color IQ. This one's one of my favorites. I guess it's based on this Farnsworth-Munsell 100 hue test, which is like a test that if you want to buy it, it's like $750, but I think the government bases everything off of this. But this is just a little preview to it, so it's free if you want to use it. But you place the colors in order. They give you the first and the last, and you can score your test. And I'm pretty sure this is the one where you can put in like your age and your gender and stuff like that, and it'll tell you where you score for your age and gender and stuff like that. But there's a bunch of these too. A lot of, which was the one I liked? I think it was this one too. This one gives you 15 seconds to find the color that is different. And I'm telling you, it gets so challenging. So, and it'll give you a score at the end when you're like dying. You're like, I can't do this anymore. I can't see straight. So that one's a lot of fun too. And then, do we have time for?
I'll give you 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. We're gonna test. What have you learned? We'll do 2 of these. So tell me some things that are good or bad about this. What have you learned?
Everything's bad.
Everything's bad. That's pretty good, actually.
It's too many colors. Busy.
No white space.
Yep.
Kerning.
Yeah, fonts.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of different
A
fonts.
lot of different fonts.
Some that you can't read.
Different colors.
Yep. The leading, the colors, the fonts, the everything.
But it's balanced.
Oh, but it is balanced. That's the good thing about it. It is very symmetrically balanced. And then there's this one.
Oh,
Good, bad?
5 tips to keep your chin up. Well, there's a lot of colors.
there's a lot of good things in this.
They had to use arrows to kind of help you with the flow.
And I like how they use the color to lead the eye through the arrows.
Yeah. What about fonts? Font choices?
There's,
They match well.
I was gonna say, it looks like they're in the same family.
Yeah, they seem to match well.
They go together. Yeah, so this one, the only thing I would say about this one is it might have too many colors. But if you think about it, if you read 5 tips to keep your chin up, this feels very, very, happy and motivating that, I would say that the colors are good for that. Maybe too many for some people, but okay, I have one more because it's kind of fun. All right, we're gonna end on that. Everything.
Last night from the 90s.
Oh my
Wow.
So don't do that.
There's a little bit of that third, the
Ooh, did we find a good thing about this?
look at her body is kind of.
Oh, the rule of thirds, maybe?
That's very generous of you.
I don't know if that was done intentionally. All right, guys. Well, here's my contact information on the end of this. If you guys do have any questions and want to follow up with me, feel free to. And my website, if you want to check that out later. But other than that, do you guys have any questions? Cool. All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Mariana Garcia, science librarian. And I do not have a design background, but I organize a lot of events and workshops, and I just don't have time to go somewhere else for those. So I end up doing my own flyers, posters, whatever I need to do, I end up doing. And one of the tools that I use a lot is Canva, canva.com. And I learned it in a workshop at RLC about Canva, and I'm fun, completely fun of those. So if you put canva.com, you will come to here. There we go. Okay. So Canva.com, that's the place. So you just go Canva.com. And how many of you already have an account in Canva? Some of you, perfect. So you can just log in in your account. If you don't, you can create, when you go to Canva.com,
Do we have a free account?
Yes.
and then
I don't have a account.
oh, someone
You need an
has
account?
premium? Ooh, pro? You have the pro?
Let's see if I know what our, mine's usually premium.
No, because there are 2 types of accounts. The free, like anybody can have, the one that I have, and then there is the pro, where you pay for it. And of course, you have a lot more stuff if you have the pro account. I use the free, and for my needs covers almost everything. So I don't need to go pro, but someone that is a professional creating things every day, it's not very expensive. So I'm gonna log in, but if you don't have an account, you can create an account right now, and you can use your email or Facebook or Google. You might have to confirm with your email, but I'm not sure. So I'm gonna log in. And it's always because this is personal, I use my personal email, so it's not attached to the university. No. No, I don't know. So, are we kind of here? If you want to open your thing, so you have the big screen, so you don't.
Business? What are we doing?
Yeah.
Oh.
password is.
Oh,
Oh.
will you did.
I just logged in.
You said personal. Use personal because that's the free one. Okay. Canva Pro, no,
Oh,
you,
no.
you don't
Oh,
want.
okay.
Maybe
Maybe
later.
later. Okay.
Yes, you don't want the Canva Pro. You just start your first
Did
design.
you log in?
Yeah, I already know.
You have the Pro. Yeah,
I don't remember my password.
So perfect,
Yeah.
because if you have no things that I don't know, I learned something today.
Okay.
And that I didn't know you can create a QR code within Canva.
Oh, yeah.
I have been creating QR codes outside and bringing them into Canva. Okay. No, yes, there is an application. Creates the QR code for you inside Canva. So, it seems a bit busy, okay? If you have never seen it, said, oh, what is this? There are three main things here that are important. First is your account. When you click on that, it's a menu. There is where you manage your settings, your profile, etc. Here is things. Create design is the main place where you go to create design. Here are just helpful places where they route you if you need, if you want a particular resource, if you want a photo, a template, if you already know what you want. And try Canva Pro. They are gonna try to sell you the Pro all the time, and there is a little crown. The things that you need to pay for have that little crown. So don't choose things that you need to pay because they will ask you for your credit card. And on this part is an easy box where if you just want to start searching for something, you have an idea. I need a program about lemons. You can put lemons and see what comes up, that it has a lemon. It's no problem. Below is kind of the same thing that you find in Creative Design. They are just giving you all the options open in one place. One thing that is important when you create a design is that they offer you a lot of models, but they also offer you what is called custom dimensions. That's the only one where you can say what is the size that you want. An important thing is, a free account, you cannot change the size of a work. Once you choose one size, that's the only one that you can have. The Pro, you can change the size, but in the free, do not. So choosing the right size in the beginning is important. Okay? And you can do that in custom dimensions. But let's look here in my account. So first is the account settings, is where you go for your password, etc. if you want to change. It's a place where you can create teams. So you can have a kind of a folder that you share with several people if you need to work in teams. Is where you can put a photo in your public profile if you decide to have a public profile, get rewards, get help, and when you sign out. Okay? And I think what is important here is the account settings in a sense. So it's where you have your username, your password, language, you can put your profession, and you can sign out from all devices. If you believe that someone took your password, you can deactivate your account here. Okay? So I think those are the most important, the account settings and the sign out. Billing and teams is where you put your credit card if you decide to pay for things, and where you create teams if you don't. But that's kind of more complicated. If you need to share, let me know and I can explain after. Create design, let's jump over that right now. The other menu. One thing that you can do always, if you want to go back, home. Home is the place that we always take you back to the home, to the main page. And the menu here shows you all your designs. Once you have designs, it will keep them and will save automatically. All the templates, so you don't need to come up with something new. You can copy from someone. There are free templates and templates that you can pay for. There are a huge collection of photos, ways to print, applications like the QR is here in the application, the QR code. Kits is to pay for. And design school is very important because this is a tool, we don't have a lot of time, where you need to learn on your own in a sense. But it's so easy once you start. And the design school is perfect because the design school is where they have all the materials. There is an entire course that you can take online in YouTube. But if you go below, it has tutorials, and it has a lot of small tutorials about how to get started, how to create the singular things, or designing. Probably the color scheme might be here, you know? Of course, you have the Canva Pro brand kit, the others are things that you need to pay for. But the getting started, it has a lot of very, very short videos that explain the basics. So it's a very easy tool to learn on your own. You just know that you go home, and here is the design school, where is all the tutorials and materials are. Okay? Any questions about that? Below that, you have folders, so you can create up to 2 folders in the free account. And so you can organize your work in at least 2 folders if you want to differentiate between all your designs. And they always have the trash and they keep, so if you delete something that I have done in error, you can always go to your trash and see everything that you deleted there for a while. Not forever, but for a while. And this is your folder. So my 2 is graduate workshops and flyers. Those are my 2 free. After that, you need to pay. So I'm going to go back to home. Just going through here, when it says create a design, it's the same as the other. What it offers you, you see, is different formats. So you can do a presentation, you can do a poster, a t-shirt. One of the ones that I use more is US letter document. If you want to start from scratch, US letter document. If you do flyer is actually, you see that when I pop in, it tells me what is the size. Remember, that's important because you won't be able to change once you start. The good thing is flyers are all letter now, so it's easy to, you just can click on flyer. Below, you have your designs when you have, and then other examples of things. So you can start in 2 places. You can start here, or you can go to create a design, and these are the options. Are the same options that offers here, but you know, presentation, poster, t-shirts, flyer, US letter, or the custom dimensions. Custom dimensions, only if you need, and you can do in pixels, inches, millimeters, centimeters. Okay? I think the easiest way to do, now that we create a design, is I'm going to go for a flyer, because, you know, US letter, we print in US letter. So why do you want to create something else? You can choose. Instead of a flyer, you can choose any of the others. I would like you to now choose something that you want to design. It could be a flyer, it could be anything else, a Facebook post or something. And they have different formats, of course, because they are for different medias. I said flyer. So when you open, then brings a new screen. And it has first a blank page, yes? But here it offers you all the templates. So you don't need to think, and they are fully customizable. So you can change the letter, you can change the color, you can change the image. And you can decide which template do you want to use. And it tells you if they are free or if you need to pay for. There are 2 menus here. So this is your workspace. This is where it shows you options to choose. There is a menu up and a menu here. Yes? And I don't know why this is kind of slightly skewed. Yes? You don't see the beginning there. The menu up has the home, always goes home. File is, once you have a file, you see you can edit the title. You can change the title to something that is meaningful to you. You can also edit the title here. Both places is the same thing. Okay? So, Canva test. And in the file, you can create a new design. You can move to something else. You can make a copy of a design that you already have, and it opens in a new window. Because once you have something that you can reuse and just change the photo or the text, you can do that. So the options for your file are here. Resize, we cannot. It has the crown, okay? Changes are saved automatically. This is, okay, no, an error, go back. And title. And if you want to share, here is where you can share with a team or with someone else that has an account in Canva. Or you can create a link and just share the link. You can also download here. And the options for download, I don't know, let me make this slightly smaller. Okay, it suggests you, I don't have anything in my design, so it doesn't have options for me, but you can download in different formats, PNG, JPEG, PDF, different formats, your design. Okay, so how are we doing with time?
It's about 12 minutes.
Okay, perfect. So, on this side is the different elements that you can use in your design. One is template. So you pick up something that is almost ready, you just edit and change, colors, figures, things like that. Elements, photos, they have a huge collection of free photos, and you can actually search. Of course, all the time it tells you, do you want this for free or not? And you can say, see all photos. Recently used, no. Oh, sorry, I'm going. And you can ask and you can search for free photos, okay? So I'm gonna search for lemon. And you see, this is all. And some has this symbol, which is money, that you need to pay. But the others, there are a lot of images that you don't need to pay. Elements are different elements that you can add. Some is grids, where you can add several photos, and they are placed in a space that you cannot change. Shapes, if you need a circle or something. Frames, you can put a photo inside. And charts, for example. You can even add a chart and edit the values and create a chart here. Elements also, they have simple things like lines, different lines, or illustrations. The shapes, you can change color once you add a shape, so you can do that. Delete. Text, here is where you can add different headings or subheadings, or you can actually use templates that are already chosen, where you have two combinations of fonts that are already chosen for you, and if you like them, you can go with one of them. You can actually add videos now. You can change the background for images, or you can, the best thing, you can upload your own images. So that's, I think, is the best way, the best thing about Canva. You can upload, and these are my images, so you see a lot of QR codes. I tend to go to Pixabay. Actually, you can search Pixabay from within Canva. I love it today as well. Pixabay is a great place with a lot of free images. And then finally, the folders. But folders you need to have, besides those two that you get in the beginning, you need to pay. And more, here is the apps. So you see the QR code is here in the apps. So you can click, and you put a URL and create the QR code, and you can add to your design. Very, very easy. So why don't we go and choose a template? I think it's the easier way. Choose a template and see if you can change any of the images. And what you do, I'm gonna choose the promotional flyers. I'm gonna see all the promotional because I'm thinking about lemons. And I choose one that was lemons in the promotional. This. And yeah. And drag it. Hey! Why don't...
If you just click it, it'll show
Yeah.
up. There you go.
There. Sorry. Okay. So I have now this big thing. I can increase the size, if I want to, or go down. And I can change the images. So I have in my uploads other images that I want to use. So I just drag my image to the image that I want to substitute. If you select one that has images, that has a photo, for example. Yours has drawings. So I'm not sure if you can substitute with a photo or you need to substitute for an element that is a particular drawing. You
Can
can
you
try.
add an
Yep.
element and show how to change the color? Like I just put a box in mine, but it's like it's gray and it won't let me do anything other than.
Click,
You
Oh,
click
never
on
mind,
it.
got it.
Yeah,
and then you
I'm gonna put this shape,
press the plus.
okay?
You can add whatever.
And I change
Nice.
here on the color, and you choose the color here.
Yeah, I didn't see the little
And
swatch
the
up there.
plus actually takes you to the full palette, so you can then change the full palette here in the plus. So you can change the color of that thing. The letters is the same thing. I'm gonna delete that.
Going pretty fast.
Where did you click for the change of color?
Okay. So, in the template, what you can do is if you want to add anything, you can add a figure, a shape, a frame, anything. Once you have your image selected, whatever you added, you go here. All the menus are here. You go here for the color. Okay? So, you click here and you change the color. And they have some preset that they offer, or if you click on the plus, actually offers you a full palette, so you can move and choose a different color. And that happens with anything that you can add from the elements. If you want to add new text, you can add, or you, in this case, because it's a template, I can edit this text, and I'm gonna put, instead of this, I'm gonna say Carlson Library, so I'm gonna make it Carlson Library. And it's gonna be Carlson Library, okay? So I changed the text. If I want, I can even change the script. I can use the recommended, or I can change for any other. And the only thing is you click on the box, and it offers you all the options here. The options are always offered on that menu. So you can change the size, you can change the color, you know, italics, black. You can change the position in the, you know, you can make it all capitals or not. You can even change the spacing, okay, between those. So I'm gonna, for example, change the spacing, and I'm gonna change, remember what she says about letter or line? I'm gonna increase the space between the letters. So it's bigger space between the letters. So where are you?
Oh, yeah.
Do you have questions about anything? About adding, changing, anything? All the options are always, when you select an element,
Kerning.
all the options are here. If it is an image,
Kerning is the letter.
for example, you can crop the image. So you can cut an image.
I need a letter.
You can flip, duplicate. You can change the position of the image. And you can copy a particular style. You can make it more transparent as well. So every element that you choose to edit, here are all the options. And you can group or ungroup different groups of things, so you can move them together. Very similar to what you do in print.
How do you move something?
Yes, it has that. It has a symbol that is the move. This one here. So here is how you move stuff. You drag and move. You can also move with the arrows in your keyboard. And that is a lot more subtle. You need to press Shift. Oh, I'm in the wrong thing. This is why it's not working, of course, because I'm in the wrong computer. You see? When you move the arrows, it goes down, down, down. If you press Shift, then it do big moves. Big moves. Shift and the arrows. or just the arrows, and then moves very slowly.
In the fonts, is there a way of adding like a white outline to your letters or a black outline to them?
Oh, you see a shade? It's kind of a shade.
Sort of.
I'm not sure. I don't think so, unless the font has itself a kind of a shade.
You
You
could
have to
copy
layer
it
fonts.
and make it just a little bit
Yeah.
bigger,
Yeah.
increase the.
Oh, that's a good
Okay.
idea.
Increase the tracking.
And put one over the other. Oh, that is a lot of work.
I know, but
It's not that bad.
but I'm not seeing it.
There are something that you
I know
might
because I've
want.
done it.
For example, if this is a presentation, you might want to add a new page. Add a new page, and then you get a new page that you can play with it, or you can add more information. So you can always add a page. And here are other things that you can do. You can add notes, so you don't forget if you need to make notes about something. And you can always copy the page several times, or of course you can kill it. So let me show you, because we are almost done, my collection. So all my designs, here is my collection of stuff. And this is my kind of my version of the lemon thing. House and library, explore the universe. So it's not marvelous, it's very central. I'm not using the rule of thirds. I should. I tend to go all
Your
center.
top line there is.
Yeah.
kind of
Oh
inverted.
yes, it's true. It's true. My top
You can
line
move your
is.
guy over a little.
Yes. And yes, I could move the guy a little bit, yes. So this is, for example, an example, and if I go home and I click and set all my designs, everything that you work with is saved automatically. So one of the things that I have that it will be very useful for all of us, I have a template for digital display that has the exact size that they ask. So the digital design, they ask for an exact size digital display. So I have a template that I use all the time. So I copy. So it has the perfect size, and I just drag an image, and I'm done. Okay? So, okay, and increase the image. So it covers my display. Okay. And when I have it, I can download in JPEG, PNG, PDF. Okay? And it's free, and I can have it. Of course, I need to delete this. Delete. Oh no, not delete, because this is my template. No, please. What I should have done is copy, not this. So, okay. And copy the entire file, so I have a new file. Make a copy, so I don't lose my thing. Very, very brief. Yes, we are done. You need to learn on your own in a sense, but I show you where to go. The design school has all these very brief videos. I can help you if you have any questions, but I'm sure you can go and play, and you can discover that there are a lot of very fun things that you can create, and a lot of very easy to do it. So you don't need to work a lot for what you want. Okay? So
Thank you.
we are all done.
Before people scatter to the four winds and break out a little bit more, I've been asked to remind folks that this does not replace the guidelines for signage that we have in the building, where we have a template that we're supposed to kind of follow / subscribe to. So this is more, again, thinking about like promotional material that you might be distributing, like on either a social platform or something like that.